ASE webinar on the Introduction to Automobile Service Program. We're glad you're with us tonight. And we're going to talk about a program that is a little bit lesser known, not as widely known as we'd like it to be. Obviously, the intent of this webinar, and obviously ASE does its certification program. And what I wanted to do real quickly is I just wanted to go and find out in what capacity are you here with us tonight. So what I want to do is I just want to launch a polling question and have you respond to that. And please vote the category that best represents, your capacity. We're about halfway in, halfway tallying. So keep them coming, folks. Again, this is a program that we, that has been pretty well received in some facets of the industry, and we're trying to draw a little bit more attention to it. Okay, about 80% of you, a few more, almost there. And I'm going to give this just a couple more seconds. And I guess with that, I'm going to go ahead and I'll close it out at this point. And now let's take a look and see who we are tonight. So you can see we've got, well, 14% students, instructors, most of you are technicians, which is interesting. We got some shop owners and we have some industry representatives with us tonight. That's all good to know. And it's not going to affect the presentation that much because everybody might be here for a different capacity. Some people might be here as a technician, perhaps wondering what this program might be about for somebody that they're trying to bring in the industry or get them started on the right foot with some very introductory type of information. And on that note, we know that there aren't a lot of programs like what we have here tonight. And so now let's go ahead and I'm going to hide that. And so let me talk about the program design. Okay, first of all, this is not a highly technical ASE training or certification program. What it is it's a program that was designed for entry level, somebody at the very, very beginning of their career, okay, who might be even just considering an automotive service career. And that's what this is built for. Okay, the point behind it is to introduce basic knowledge of service tasks, okay? It isn't intended to be very, very deep technical information. It's really to create what we call an awareness of tasks that are involved when servicing a car at a basic level. Okay, now this task list was built by the industry. This is not ASE's pipe dream, something that we came up with and decided to put together. It was, the framework for it at least was put together by industry. Actually, ASE created the product. But it's important to know that just like every other test that we create here, the task list was built by the industry. And we'll get more into that in just a little bit. So this is an e-learning delivery product, and it's for desktops and tablets. We do not have something for mobile at this point. This requires a bit of screen real estate for the visuals that are involved, so that's a little bit challenging. Not impossible on mobile, so I don't want to give that, impression. But this is right now a program that is really primarily designed for desktop and tablets. It works really well on an iPad or other tablets, Android tablets as well, and something we've had pretty good success with in that area. Altogether, there's 5 modules, okay? We've got 4 training modules and 1 quiz. And so obviously, numerically, you can see we've got an emphasis on training. And the training is what this thing is all about. Again, it's that awareness of those entry-level tasks. Then the quiz is where we do an assessment of what was taught in those 4 training modules. Okay, and this product is found at our online learning management system, which is at the ASE campus URL that you see on the screen. And in one of the handouts, there's a fact sheet that also gives you that URL. So if you download that fact sheet and the task list we're going to talk about, you'll have that available to you. This is not a program that's available on CD. It's not available in printed form. It's an online delivery program only. And then this is a completion program. It's not a certification program, again, like regular ASE certification. There is a certificate of completion that you get if you were successful when you complete the quiz. Okay, now I'm just going to shift over and talk just a little bit here about the task list. Again, this is an industry developed task list. We had several workshops here at ASE where we had in subject matter experts spread from across the industry with expertise in this capacity that put this task list together. And what you see on the screen is one page. I'm not going to belabor you with going through the entire task list tonight. That's certainly something you're all capable of reading on your own when you pull it down out of the handout section. So I really invite you to do that. In fact, one of the things I want to say, and I guess I'm going to brag just a little bit here on ASE's behalf, is that when we launched this program, we got a lot of compliments from instructors that said, I've never seen a task list for these types of tasks ever put together, and they complimented ASE for the comprehensiveness of these tasks. And again, now they're not very deep, but it's very, very broad. And it's pretty important for today's technician to know, when they're getting into this industry, that they're going to do tire service, that they're probably going to run into a tire pressure monitoring system and have awareness of that that's one of the implications of doing that particular task. Okay, so that's kind of important. All right, so you see here a visual array of the 5 modules in this program. The title is going across the top. I don't want to read it all the way down, but you will see that each one of the various modules is divided, at least as far as the training modules goes, each one of them is divided up into various sections. And so again, pretty comprehensive overall here, 76 tasks in all included in this program. So one of the questions we might get is, how long might it take for somebody to complete this program? Well, it varies, but based on user habits that we've seen to date, I would just say that it's safe to say around an hour a module is kind of what we're stating is what usage history has shown. That's not a recommendation that you have to allocate that much, but in order to give it time and go back through it and really absorb it, maybe an hour per module. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get right into the product itself, okay? And so what I want to do first of all here is I'm going to show, obviously we've got 4 training modules, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to showcase just a section, one part of module 4, the body, battery, charging and electrical systems and so forth, and I just want to show how that works. Now the other modules, obviously the content is different, but it's more of the same in terms of the way it operates, okay? So I thought I'd show that for just a second. Okay, so here we are, and what I'm going to do is I just want to go and see, do we have any hands up at this point? Any questions before I get into the training part? Dan, do you see anything there? Don, any hands up?
Yes, Dave.
Okay.
Let's go with Daniel. Invite him here. Click on his hand. Oh, I put his hand down. Daniel, if you want to pop your hand back up, we'll grab you again. Roll it, Dave.
All right, we've got another hand up here.
There you go. Thank you.
You want to go with this one here? And I'm going to go, let's go to Sengiz. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but go ahead. Sengiz, are you with us? Your mic is unmuted. You can go ahead if you like. Over to you. All right, I'm not sure he's getting us. Anybody else there, Dan? Otherwise, we'll just go ahead and roll.
I'll go ahead and roll.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so again, we're going to take a quick look at part of Module 4 here. And like any good product these days, you've got an agreement up front that you have to read and agree to. And then one of the graphical things that we do in each one of the modules, because you can only have one module open at a time, is we give you an indication here. So we're in module 4, and you'll see that the picture in module 4 is in color. The other 3 modules are black and white, so you know that that's an inactive module at this time. So module 4, again, that's the way that we refer to that. You know that that's the current module that you're in. Notice also that we have a link up towards the top of the screen that you can print the PDF version of the course modules and sections, okay, which is essentially the task list we've already talked about. But that's available, and that's integral in each one of the modules. All right, so we have an option up front where somebody can go through the navigations and controls, which is what we encourage people to do, you know, or you can skip them and jump right in it. But I'll just give a quick review. I don't want to, you know, bog us down with a review, but you can see that all of the navigation is reviewed click by click or select by select if you're on a tablet, because you're not clicking on a tablet, but it does work on a tablet just fine. So that's all reviewed. And then basically we get right into what we call our section launch page. So every module uses the same methodology of using a visual of 4 sections inside them, okay? And so what we do is these modules use what I will call a loop navigation. So section A that you see in the upper left, or B, C, or D, doesn't matter. Each one of those use a loop navigation. So the tasks that are underneath that, once you select that, will take you through the tasks, and you can go through them, and then when that section's complete, it will be checked off. And that's how that works. So let's go ahead and just take a look. We'll go to section A. And so as you can see, each one of the tasks that's in each one of the sections, okay, are titled by number and what that task applies to. Now, each section might have different numbers of tasks. So this one here in section A, we can see that there's 3, but others might have 6, 7, 8. Just depends on the way that that was developed by the workshop group, the subject matter experts, as far as the comprehensiveness to cover that particular category. So let's go ahead and we're going to take, first of all, a look at the wiper blades task. All right, now, what I want to show you here real quickly is not so much what the content is representing, but the way that it works, okay? So each one of the tasks uses progressive text so that the learner can control the pace of the delivery. And a progress bar shows where the learner is at. So as you can see here, we have a passage of text. They select more, and it reads a little bit more, and the visual changes when necessary, and again until we get through the end of the text. Okay, so I'm calling your attention to the upper right of the screen. That's where the text is progressively displayed. Okay. All right, so now each one of the tasks features an interaction for engagement. We really want the learner to be engaged with this, where we want them to click on the screen. We focus on a positive reinforcement type of thing. So, you know, we're not going to tell them they're wrong, that sort of thing. We want them to find what's right. And so in this particular one here, you should always tug gently on the wiper blade to make sure it's secured to the wiper arm. Okay, so that's the interaction on this one. Then, following the interaction, we have a task tips summary, which is shown in a bulleted format. And what these task tips do is they essentially summarize the entire task, that those are the main focal points for the learner. And of course, after they get to the bottom of that, they get a flashing navigation prompt that's telling them to go ahead and select and continue. Okay, and you'll see when we get back here to the section page, we've got an ASE logo that shows that we've been through that task, and now we can go on to the next one. Now, we don't have to do these in order. In fact, these modules don't have to be done 1 first, 2 second, third, and so on and so forth, they can be done in any order. They're only numbered for categorization. A lot of younger learners like to just do things their own way, and that's fine. Now, going further, even the sections in here, you could start with section D if you wanted. You could start with section B. We really don't care. All we want the learner to do is to go through all of the content so that they can complete the module and make sure that they visit everything. So let's just go. We're going to do task 3, which is on the fuel cap and seal. And again, the progressive text. And we have a progress bar. And so now what are the areas that we should inspect? Okay, we should inspect the fuel cap seal. We should inspect where it seats on the tank neck. And again, the task tips. So you get the idea there pretty quick on how that works. And then finally, let's go here to, we've got this lubrication of door latches and hinges, where we show some common lubricants. We show it being done. Common lube points, a little bit more focused. And then here we have an interaction, what you should use to reduce overspray. It's a good idea to use a rag. So that's something that we like to preach. And again, we have the task tips to summarize. Okay, and now we have all 3 tasks complete in this section. And notice now that we have this guy here, Mike, saying, hey, congratulations, you've reviewed all the tasks for section A. Now select the next button to proceed to the knowledge check. Mike nor this prompt does not appear until the tasks are complete in that section. So now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and we're going to pop into the knowledge checks. Okay, so it's kind of just a quick check of their knowledge as they went through it. And so here we have a matching question. And I'm not going to take the time to go through and make sure that it's right. What we look for on these knowledge check questions is just to make sure that they actually answered it. Even if they didn't answer it right, that's their choice, but we want to make sure that they answered it. And of course, if they don't answer it right, and I'll just click a couple matches here, you know, see it's not correct. So they can go back and they can try it over and over and over again. They can reset it, do whatever they need to do until they get it right. So again, we're trying to push that positive reinforcement, and that's how they roll through these. So here we have a typical ASE style, Tech A, Tech B style question, and I'm just going to choose an answer. I'm not even reading the question, but I'm going to go ahead and proceed through it because that question is answered. And now you'll see that we have section A complete. We're way back out to the section A launch screen now, or the section launch screen, and notice that we had to not only do all the tasks, we also had to go through each one of the knowledge check questions. So that's how each section works. And the same would be true of B, C, and D. Only different being is that the tasks are different because of the content that they cover. But that works the same in all of the 4 training modules. So let's take a quick break here before I switch gears. Do we have any hands out there raised? Any questions at this point?
Dave, yeah, we have about 4 or 5 hands up here. Would you like me to pick on one here?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'll pick, I've got at the top here, Coley Geyser, I believe his name is. Let me unmute him and see if, let him ask his question.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Coley, I think you're on. Hello, Coley, you there? Okay, I think he's bowed out. Let's pick up another gentleman here, Daniel Gardner. Let me turn Daniel on. Daniel, you should be, your mic should be live now. You have a question? Okay, I think we've let some of these guys hang out here for a little bit. Let me come down to another one here. We've got Corey Vandergriff. Corey, your mic should be live.
Nothing doing?
No, let's see. He may have muted it on his end here. Let me try just gentleman here. John Brewer just came on. Let me try to open his mic. John, can you ask your question?
Yeah,
John Brewer?
I just wanted to test the mic. Is it working?
Yes, yes, John, I got you.
Okay, I'm just testing. Thank
Okay,
you.
you're welcome. All right. Now we got Ralph Severus. Ralph, do you have a question for us here?
Yes, I do. How does this program compare to a program, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, called Electude? Have you ever?
Yes, I'm familiar with Electude. Obviously, Electude is much more comprehensive. It's designed to really be used in a career entry program, and it aligns pretty well with the NATEF standard for program accreditation. So obviously it's much more intensive, and like Dave was saying, that at about an hour a module, this is going to take a typical user about 5 hours, but Electude, that can be used over the course of a 2-year program actually.
Right.
There are a few other products like that as well out there.
Okay, yeah, I'm an instructor, and I'm just starting to work, get some of these programs going, and I just ordered the Electude, and I just was doing like a comparison check. I really don't know much about the Electude. I'm just so this is more, maybe I should have them work on something like this first before we move on to Electude?
Well, I'm not a user of Electude or any of the other electronic delivery, but there's several products like that out there that are very good, and I'm sure that they include some of this. It's just I can't speak to it personally, but I'm sure Electude would be able to help you do a comparison.
No problem. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Don, let's go to Tim. I got him. Can I unmute him for you?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Tim, you're up.
Hey, I was just kind of curious, does this program track how many, and I guess how many times that a student clicks to find the correct answer, like if they're just kind of clicking around to get through, or does it count clicks, I guess is what I'm asking?
No, it does not. We're not that restrictive in it. I mean, it's you know, we just want them to complete it is really that. I mean, you can dial down all kinds of extra detail, you know, into any sort of program, but this does not track that.
Okay. That's good. That's fine. Just curious. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. You bet.
Don, can we go to William? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to say we have a few here that have raised their hands recently, so let's see if we can pick them up. Go ahead, and why don't you unmute William Beach?
Unmuted. I was going to ask, but I got my question answered. You were talking about being able to print from the PDFs, and I asked if you could print the curriculum or just the task list, and it was answered for me, just the task list. Thank you.
Okay. Dave, you want to add anything to that?
No, I mean, they're basically one and the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see. Let me pick on Paul. Paul, I'm sorry, Paul. I'm butchering your last name, but your mic is live now. Paul? Okay. Paul Bolderu? Okay. Let's see.
Let's move to Ralph. Okay.
Okay.
Ralph, you're unmuted.
Yes, hello.
Hi, Ralph.
Hi. I asked the question about Electude earlier, and I don't know why you're calling on me again.
Oh, okay. I guess we need to lower your hand after we talk to you. Sorry about that. I can do that.
Okay, Don and Dan, if not much more in way of hands there, what about over into the questions pane? Anything on fire over there?
I've been looking at the hands, but I have one more gentleman that looks like he just raised his hand. He had it up earlier, and I apologize for not pronouncing it, but Sengiz Halisi, you're live. You have a question for us? C-E-N-G-I-Z. Okay. Dave, there's one question I was asking about, are there any minimum percentages required to pass?
Yeah, it's 80% is the passing score. There's 40 questions on the quiz. There 32 or better is the passing. And Sengi's that you were calling on, he said that the speaker doesn't work, so he's having problems there, and he apologizes.
Okay.
To be clear about the content in this, one of the attendees is asking if there's a lot of ASE questions or ASE test questions on there.
There's 40 questions in Module 5, the quiz, and I'll be showing that here just quickly. I'll show a couple questions from it, but it consists of different styles of questions. Certainly ASE style 4-option multiple choice questions, but also some multi-selects, some drag and drops, some matches.
Okay, Dave, we've got 3 more gentlemen with their hands up. Let me pick on Stephen. Stephen Yannick?
Yes.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Stephen.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can, Stephen, I can.
Okay. I just wanted to, I've been on several webinars before, and I know that most people mute their phones when they get on, and I think that might be part of your issue, why people aren't being able to hear you guys. I just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
That's a good point. It might be very helpful. I'm still a little bit of a newbie using the voice myself here, so hopefully I don't seem too clunky. Thank you,
Not
Stephen.
a problem. I just wanted to reach out and help out.
Appreciate it. Thank you. And I think we've got one more gentleman, Ted Morin. Let me unmute you. Ted, you have a question for us?
Don, while we're fielding the last couple questions there, before I move to the next segment, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to exit out of this training module here just to complete what I had in mind for this Module 4 demo of Section A at this point. Okay?
And what you should do, Dave, is probably continue on, because many of the questions are in the questions pane.
Yeah.
They're addressing content that you're going to address here in a second.
Yep. Sounds good. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump in Module 5, which is the quiz. We're now exiting the training. You know, again, there's 4 training modules, and there's a final quiz, which is Module 5. I'm going to launch that. And I'm not going to start at the beginning. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into a location to save a moment or two and not have to click all the way through it. But basically I wanted to show you really quick that this program uses bookmarking, so it remembers where the learner was at the last time. So they have the option, they're prompted with, hey, we've seen you here before. Do you want to go back where you left off? And they can either opt to accept their bookmark from where they were before, or they can just start right at the beginning again. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to honor this bookmark, go back. And so what I wanted to show you real quick was just one of the different question styles that we've got in this program here, where in this particular task, in the question surrounding this task, is a person is installing a wheel, and obviously they're installing lug nuts, okay? And there's an order to install them, and as you can see, there's already 2 lugs that are installed. So what the learner is to do is they're supposed to drag and drop the lugs over onto whatever the next proper place would be. So, you know, I'm just dragging here. And there's probably people screaming at me right now, but you can reset it and put the lug nuts back over here in this little tray. And so once the person gets them in the location that they think, then they can go on down the road, and it, you know, it does tabulate those locations as far as the question goes. Okay, so so let me go ahead. I'm going to move up just a couple more questions here. And I'm going to showcase this particular question, which is another drag and drop exercise where it talks about a fuse replacement issue. And so you all can read for yourself, but essentially it comes down to a hazard horn fuse is basically blown or open, whatever term you want to use, and it needs to be replaced. So again, for an entry-level technician coming over looking at how would they replace this fuse, they need to know about the locator. So what we've got is we've got either on mouse over or select, they can get a bigger map of that sticker that's inside that fuse cover. And so from here, they can learn what the capacities are for each one of the locations, and then they can go and they can once again grab from the tray the proper fuse and put it in its location. So that's another example of, again, a drag and drop question that we've got in here. And next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the summary screen. That's the end of the quiz. So this is at the back end of the quiz, okay? This is when a person has gone through all of the questions, okay? And they get to the end of the quiz. Now, they may have answered some questions along the way. They may have omitted some questions along the way. And basically what we have is we have here a summary screen that shows you your status of your question. So an empty circle basically means that question is either not answered or it's flagged for review, okay? And then a full circle means that question is answered. Now, that doesn't mean that it's answered correctly. It just means that the learner answered that question. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a question out of here, and then I want to show you something that's going to happen. Okay, so I'm going to select question 12, and this is a 4-option multiple choice question. And notice one thing that ends up happening. Now there's a button on the bottom of the quiz interface that says return to summary page. This is a dynamic button that turns on only when the learner has gotten all the way to the end of the quiz, and it turns that on so now they can hopscotch back and forth over to it. So let's just pick an answer for question 12, and I'm going to pop back to the summary page, and you'll see now that that bubble is filled in, so that question is answered. Now I'm going to go back to question 12, and let's just say I answered it as I was going through the test, but as I was going through the test and I had an answer for it, maybe I wasn't so sure about my answer. So what I decided to do is flag it. So it tells me that I flagged it, okay, even though it's answered, and now when I go back again to the summary, you're going to see on 12 that it's empty. So it needs my attention. Again, the empty circle means it needs my attention. So now when I go back and visit it, okay, I see, I did answer it, I flagged it, I guess that answer is okay, I'll unflag it, and I'll return back to the summary screen. So that's how that works. And that works the same for every question. Okay, so I'm not going to go through all of the questions, I just wanted to show you basically how the drag and drop questions work. And because those are different than what ASE typically does, I wanted to show how the summary screen works in this quiz. And then eventually when the learner is satisfied with their answers that they've chosen, they go ahead and they're going to score their quiz. And then they get one more confirmation whether they're scored or not, and they can cancel and return to it before they submit it for scoring. Once they submit it for scoring, it's a done deal. They don't get the quiz back. If they pass, then they get a certificate of completion, and that certificate of completion is at 80%. They have to get 32 out of 40 questions or more correct, and that's what that cut score is set at. So that's basically a quick review of the quiz. And so now let's go ahead and let me go ahead and shut this window down. And I'm going to go ahead and park that. So here's a certificate of completion that the learner would get, again, provided they're successful with that 80% or 32 or more correct. And that is printable right from that person's profile. It has the date of completion on it. That date stays with the date of completion, not the day necessarily of printing, because they may want to come back later and print it again, and that would be available in their profile at asecampus.com in the Review My Results section. So there's just a link that they launch. They can print it. This fits, by the way, again, what you're seeing is in color. It does print out in color on a color printer. It fits in like a 5x7 certificate frame. And if you print it on photo quality paper, it looks pretty reasonable actually once you put it in there. So, for an online certificate, it isn't too bad. Okay, so who uses this thing? Well, on the screen you can see the types of companies, organizations, and entities that have used this program to date, and more are unfolding all the time. I mean, we've talked to people that use it in independent repair shops for screening some of their technicians. And then, the BOCES School Group up in New York State, they're big users of this program. They've used it for their people before they even get into stuff for G1. They've used this as kind of an entry-level thing. So that's again a cross-section of the types of organizations, entities that use it. So pretty wide in scope. I mean, even some fleets that really have bigger vehicles and still use this as a tool to kind of screen some of their entry-level applicants. Okay, so as far as the pricing and availability for the program, on a single basis, the program package of 5 modules it's $39.99. Okay, quantities of 10 or more are available at a 35% discount, so that brings it down to $25.99. There's a retake package if somebody's unsuccessful at a discounted rate of $20. And access to the modules is good for 60 days. There's a timeout from the time of enrollment, and 15 days prior to the expiration date, they'll get an email saying you've still got stuff that you need to go and complete these modules. So go ahead and get that done. That's kind of the the availability, the wheres, the whys, and so on and so forth about the product offering itself. And again, this is available only online. So as we get down to the finish line for tonight's presentation, so we're looking at here that the IAS program is found at asecampus.com. That's our learning management system. If you go to ase.com under tests, you'll see information there about it, but it's going to bounce you back over here. So this is the most direct route. Okay. And then, like all of our webinars, we do record them. We post them up to the ASE Campus YouTube channel. I encourage you to subscribe to that channel where you will get notifications about the latest webinars that we have to offer. Okay, so again, I'm going to open it up to questions at the end, and once more, just a reminder of the regular ASE certification test series. We've got fall test registration through the 22nd. We have testing available throughout the year with 90 days to schedule an appointment and register at myase.com.
Dave, we have Troy Pryor. Are you ready for his question?
I sure am.
All right, let me unmute his mic. Mr. Pryor, are you still with us? Okay, I've lost him. Let me move on to Andre here. Okay, Andre, can you hear us? Oops, that didn't work.
Looks like Andre's on the phone.
Andre?
There you go.
There you are.
There you are. Thanks, Andre.
Okay, if we were to sign up, I'm an independent shop owner, so if I was to sign up my shop apprentice, can this be set up so I get notifications as to when he's going in there and completed, or if he hasn't completed and he's only got, like you said, 15 more days or whatever it is, so I can light a fire under his butt to, because if I'm paying for it, I'd like some notification and some control over, that he has to get this done.
Yeah, Andre, at this point, we don't really have employed in there a hierarchical arrangement to manage them that way, but in your instance, what I would probably suggest you do that if you're going to sign him up for it, maybe you use your email address in his profile so the notification goes to you.
Okay. All right,
Thank
that makes sense. Thanks.
Andre, the other thing I'll just mention real quickly is that, as I know you take your answer here offline, is that we do have a voucher program for this. I mean, somebody can go in and buy this directly. We do also have voucher program, which is an electronic coupon for the purchase of this program. So you could, for example, you could go and you could buy a voucher yourself once you create a profile. It kind of adds an extra step, but the one thing is you're the purchaser of the voucher, then you could issue the voucher to your candidate, and then like I could tell you when it's redeemed at last, that sort of stuff, because again, you're the purchaser of it. So that's another little measure that we can offer you.
Okay, it looks like Corey has another question. Let me unmute his mic. Corey?
Yes.
Are you there?
As far as, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we're good.
Okay. As far as my employer, pretty much they reimburse for any kind of ASE training on that. Now, if they were interested in buying, like when it has that 35% off, is there a way for, I guess, once that they whoever would be the purchaser of that, they would have like 10 individual accounts they could set up for the technicians wanting to go through the entire program independently, or would be all, I guess my question is, it would be like have to be one at a time, or would it be like independent accounts that could be created and ran at the same time on that?
Okay, so here's what I would suggest. If the employer is going to buy it, I'd suggest that they have an account where they make a purchase of, say, 10 vouchers, because it kind of goes back to the previous commenter in terms of how it would work. So they would make the purchase. They would be issued the 10 vouchers. Then they would assign them to the 10 individuals. The reason that each individual would need to have their own profile is that the credential is attached to the person that takes it, not necessarily the purchaser.
All right.
That's
well, yeah, that answers that. Thank you.
That's the distinction.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, it's getting quiet. What else we got?
All right, yeah, we've got Ted's back again with another question. Let me open his mic. Go ahead, Ted. Ted Moran. Ted, are you there?
Unmute your mic, Ted, or
yeah,
you could switch.
There's something wrong with my mic, I guess.
There you go. We hear you now.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yes,
I'm asking in relation to vocational school, if we bought 20 vouchers at the beginning of the year, is there a time limit that they have to be used, or like could we have some of the kids take it early and some kids later in the year? Is there anything like that, or does it all have to be done within a certain number of days from the time we purchase them?
No, the vouchers do not have a timeout on them, and at any time during that array of vouchers that you might purchase, if you didn't remember, if you didn't track or whatever it is, we can run a report for you. We can tell you who redeemed them and when, and which ones are still good and which ones are not.
Okay. Can I ask you another question to that? Is there any better price for schools if they're buying a lot? We've got about 70 kids in the class.
Yeah, the $25.99 is the discount that we're offering for the quantities of 10 or more. That's our current pricing structure on it. So,
and one more question: how do these compare to the tests right now that we have the kids take it their senior year, the completion test? I don't know what we're paying for those.
I'm assuming you're talking about the student certification.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, this is not intended to be that. That's a more advanced test than what this is. Again, I'll remind everyone that this is an entry-level thing for somebody who's on the beginning horizon of their career.
Okay, so we could have like our exploratory kids. Now, the parent could come and sign their son up for this if they wanted to, but that'd be $39 if the school didn't do it with a
right,
group of 10.
without a discount.
Okay.
That's correct.
Okay, all right, that's good. You guys come a long way from the 70s.
And again, we've got, I use the one school system up in New York State. BOCES network of schools up there, they're using this as a very entry-level program before they even do any training there for G1, and that's where they've found the fit, and that's been a good sample for us in terms of what this product is supposed to do. What else we got?
Hey, Don, let's jump up to, I think it's Troy again.
Yeah, let's see if...
Yeah.
Troy, did we get you?
Troy, you can unmute your microphone if you get a chance there.
Surprised we're having as many problems as we have tonight, because the last couple of sessions it's only been on the user's end and they've caught it right away when we prompted them. But
all right, I've muted him again, but let's address a question that we've got. Dave, this is a higher level question from Brian. He asks what the goals were that ASE had in mind that led them to develop this program, and I think that needs to be addressed from the industry side, correct?
Right, exactly.
So it wasn't ASE's goal to develop this program. Industry came to us seeking this program and asked us to develop it, and then provided input to develop a task list, asked us develop the platform that this is now inserted on that Dave manages. So that's really where it came from. It wasn't an ASE idea, it was an industry idea. They came forward and said, we'd like this, we'd like to have something like this, and that's why it was developed.
And it was based off trends in the way that they're heading. I mean, when you look at where G1 has come from, you know, this was more towards the fact that the way that the orientation repairs was going was becoming more maintenance oriented. That's where this came from. That was the groundswell for it. And at that point, then we put together, you know, a group of subject matter experts, and this was the result. Well, what we built was the result. The task list is what they built. What else we got? Don't want to have any dead air time here, so I'm just looking through the questions here. And
Dave, you've answered almost every question we've had specifically. You dealt with discounting. We've dealt with the technical content, how to print a certificate. We've done a pretty good job of keeping up with the questions that the crowd has brought forward. So.
Well, and one of the things I also want to mention is that, you know, ASE is not against entertaining any other potential uses of this program or for this program. I mean, we have done those sorts of things in the past. So, again, this is the program the way we offer it, but it isn't to say that it, you know, couldn't change in the future as well. Why don't we finish up here? Any of the last questions, and then why don't we just go ahead and we'll make this thing a wrap.
Yeah, Dave, we had Troy, who's letting us know he's having technical problems getting his voice to be heard. So I told him if you want to just type in his question real quick, we'd be happy to respond to him verbally.
Right.
I'm sure the whole group would like to hear. And of course, a reminder that we have the handouts in that handout pane. It's the fact sheet and task list that you can download off of this, off of the screen.
Not to steal Dave's thunder here at the end, but for those of you that have questions or think of something later, don't forget Dave's got his contact information up here on the screen, dcappert@ase.com, and he's happy to answer the questions for you about this program. He also manages the EPA Section 609 program here at ASE.
All right, I've got one more hand that's come up since we've been talking here. Stephen, looks like he's got another question. Stephen, you're open.
All right, how you guys doing?
Doing great, thank you. Thanks for joining us.
I think that, this is just my opinion, that if the schools could get like a solid pricing for, I don't know, up to maybe 80, 90 students, some sort of number that the school could actually pay for, that I think you'll get a lot more volume if that's what you're looking for. That's just my opinion. I don't know if anybody else out there is an instructor, but to try to get this money individually from, I teach in an urban school district, and I don't think that I'm going to get any of this money from any of the kids to attempt this.
Let me jump in on this. Dave, let me jump in on this one here. I'm going to put Dave on the hook here, but what I'd suggest is, obviously ASE is always changing to try to meet the needs and such, and I don't want to suggest that this will get the results you're looking for, but why don't you go ahead and send Dave Cappert an email, again, introducing yourself and making that request, and that gives him the leverage he needs to be able to bring that question on up to those who do make this type of decision. But certainly we understand that budgets are tight in schools.
All right, great. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for the feedback. All right, why don't we go ahead and put a wrap on this then. I want to thank again everybody for joining us, and some really good questions tonight about this program, and some that's lesser known here at ASE. And if you get a chance to look at it and use it, you know, we appreciate your feedback. Again, my contact information, dcappert@ase.com on the screen. Please send me an email. We'll follow up on that, and thanks again for your attendance tonight, and we look forward to seeing you at another ASE webinar soon. Thanks, and good night.